And what we're talking about in this series is about how we use our time and how there are so many things we could do with our time, but it's so easy to waste it, isn't it? And we can find ourselves doing that. I want to tell you a quick story and about 3 Catholic mothers who are bragging about their 4 sons. Does that sound okay? And one of them was mother said, well, my son, she's so proud. She said, my son's a father or a priest. And when he walks in the room, everybody says father, calls him father. And they thought, oh, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, how many know the moms like to one-up each other? Not here. Out there, that moms out there like to one-up each other. And then the second mom said, well, my son, that's good. Your son's a priest, that's good. But my son's a bishop. And when he walks in the room, they say, your grace. Wow, that's good. The other one said, the third mother's like, yeah, that was really nice. That's good. That's interesting. My son's a cardinal. And when he walks in the room, everyone calls him your eminence. And they're like, wow, impressive. And the fourth lady, she's sitting there thinking, only one left is she says, well, my son is 6'3". He has broad shoulders. He's incredibly good looking and an impeccable dresser and very successful. And when he walks in the room, all the ladies say, oh my. There was a blank there. You fill in the blank. Oh, well. Okay. I after last week, you know, the first early bird gets the worm, the second mouse gets the cheese. I had people after the one that was here for 2 services. She said it took 2 services to figure that one out. Some of you, is there anyone still trying to figure that one out? If there is, we'll let you know at the end of this service. We're in a series called Tic Toc, and the theme verse in this series we're talking about is found in Psalms, and it was written by Moses, and it says, teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Now you may say, well, what does wisdom have to do with numbering our days? Well, here's how it's connected. If I were to tell you today that you have 30 days to live, or 6 months to live, or I put a number on the days you had left to live, and I told you you have this much time to live, how many know that you would probably live your life completely different than you're living it right now? Isn't that right? The reality is, although we know we're going to die, we just don't believe it's today. We don't live our life like we have a limited supply of days. We live our life like it's unlimited, like we're going to live forever. That's how we live our life. And in some ways, that's important because we are going to live forever. But we're not going to live forever on earth. It's appointed to man once to die, right? We're all going to die. We're all dying. Our physical body is currently dying right now. And over the next few minutes, you're going to be closer to death than you were before I started. Some of you are saying, praise the Lord. That's right. Amen. All right? But here's the reality. If I tell you you're going to have 30 days, if I number your days and say you have 30 days to live, you know what we do? We say, you know what, if all I got is 30 days, then I need to live my 30 days for the things that are most important to me. But when we don't number our days, we lack wisdom. We don't have a heart of wisdom. We don't think about what's important to us. We put off what's important to us. And when we don't number our days, we waste them, don't we? We waste all kinds of things that are not numbered. If we waste water, but we don't tend to waste something else that costs money. We don't put value on our day. So when I wake up in the morning, we wish days away. Like if it's going to be a hard day, or if I got to do something that I really don't want to do in that day, what we do is we wish it away. I wish this day was over, or I wish it was Friday, and it's only Monday, right? And you're always wishing the days away. And the reality is we need to stop. A heart of wisdom stops and says, you know what? This day is a gift from God, and I will never get this day back. And I only have so many days. And so even though there are difficult things in this day that I'm in, I'm going to enjoy this day, and I'm going to make the most of this day because this is one of my numbered days. And I may only have a week, or I may have only 20 days. There may be some of us. Yesterday, we did a funeral here in this service, and the young man was my age, very young man, was standing at the bus stop down in Chicago and Franklin, and someone got out of their car, walked behind him, and shot him in the back of the head. 43 years old, right down by North Central. His life was over. He had no idea it was going to happen. He was just standing at the bus stop. You don't know when your life is going to end. You have no idea when you're going to take your last breath. When he woke up that day, he might have said, this is going to be a tough day. He had no idea what kind of day it was going to be. So what am I going to do in this day? What am I doing with this day? And we talked about how we live most of our life for our own glory. Like, I want to be known. I want people to know who I am. So I live a lot of my life trying to do things that get people to notice me or to lift me up or to glorify me. We want some bit of significance. At the beginning of our life, we think the world revolves, we're the purpose of life, we're the ones that this all revolves around. And then as you get older, we wonder what the purpose of life is. What is it? Because we realize that as our days go by, you get to the point and you're saying, you know what? I want my life to be worth something more than what it's been. I've wasted so much of my youth. I want it to be worth something. And so you're given only so much time. Your life is more valuable than any kind of money. You can lose all your money and make it all back, but you can't lose your time and get it back. When it's gone, it's gone. It's over. Decisions made, decisions done, consequences lived. So in this moment, and some of you would say, and I don't know if anyone would say, but maybe some of you in the room would say, well, why are you preaching on this time thing? It's not really spiritual. Can I tell you, it is one of the most spiritual messages I'm going to preach this year, because your life is that important to God, that he would die on a cross to redeem your days so that you could live them with value and significance. So it is very important that you hear this. This is extremely important that this get down in your spirit and that you recognize tomorrow morning when I wake up that I begin to rejoice. This is the day that God has made. This is the day and the breath that God has given me so that I might live and have life in him, in it, and do that which he's giving me to do, the will he's giving me to do. That there is something great for me to do for him. Not to live for my glory and significance, because we won't live long enough to get any significance, but to live for his glory. Remember, we talked about how short life is. It's a mist. It's a runner. It's like a sprint. It's going to be gone today. It's like burning up grass that was fresh in the morning and died at night. That's how fast our life is. And so we will never have significance that will last years. But we have a life that we can invest in the glory of God. Not that I'm known, but I've made God known. That my life made him known. That I can sit and say, if God had significance in people's lives, it's because of my life, that I invested my life to make him significant in other people's lives. Right? And last week, we had a table up here, and we had 2 jars, and we had little pebbles in the jar, and when we tried to put the big rocks in there, they didn't fit. And so what we had to do is take the big rocks, and the big rocks represented the important things in our life. The jar represented our life. The big rocks were the important things of life, and the pebbles were all of those things that waste life. And remember, we tried to put the important things in, they didn't fit, and that happens a lot in life because we allow our life to be filled with things that aren't important because we think we don't have numbered days. But when we realize we have numbered days, we take the big rocks, the biggest being God, and we put them in our life, and priority determines capacity. And remember, we put all the big rocks in first, prioritize the big rocks in our life, our marriage. We put God in first in our marriage, and maybe our job or our kids. And if you weren't married, your dad, he was one of the big rocks. And then we took all the little pebbles and we dumped that all around the big rocks. And everything that didn't fit in this jar, when you try to put, all of it fit in the other jar when you prioritized, right? Remember that? So how are we using time? And here's the thing. I hope you're getting in this. Last week I gave you kind of an assignment or something to think about, and that assignment was, what are the big rocks in your life? And I said, if you want to know what they are currently, ask the person that you live life with, whether it's your spouse, people who know you the best. Ask them to tell you, what are the big rocks in your life? And you may not like what you hear, or if there's not someone there, maybe it's someone else. But just ask, what do you think is the most important thing to me? Maybe you found out things like, in my case, the Green Bay Packers. In yours, maybe the Vikings. Now listen. Normally that would be the funny thing, but that would be extremely disappointing if a football team was a big rock in my life. And I'm not trying to be so serious here, but I feel an urgency that we make light of some things that you cannot make light of, and this is one of them, because your life is in the balance. I grew up, and the Packers never won a Super Bowl, and they never even went to playoffs. They went to the Super Bowl in 1997 and won it, and I realized that they didn't care that I cheered through all of those bad years. It didn't really change my life. I found out that losing was far worse than winning was good, than winning was good. And I realized I had made something important in my life that was not worth anything. That I burned passion and money and all kinds of things on something that wasn't important. And I'm not saying it's bad to cheer for a team of any kind. That's not what I'm saying. Understand, that's not what I'm getting at. But our life often rises and falls on whether they win or lose. Our attitude rises or falls on whether a team wins or loses. You know why? Because where your treasure is, and there's no greater treasure than your time. There's no greater treasure than your time. And we use our time in so many ways that we waste it. And what I want to take a look at today is, how do we take our time and multiply it? How do we take our time and invest it instead of spending it? If I were to give two people up here, we'd come up here, and I were to give them $100 a piece, and one of them went out and bought a video game unit because that's what they always wanted. They always wanted that, and so I gave them $100, and they go, that's the one I want, and they went out and spent it. Would that money be invested or spent? It would be spent. And when that unit is done and wore out, it'd be gone. But if I brought Mick up here, who's just sitting up here, and I gave him $100, he would look at that $100 and say, you know what, I'm going to invest that $100 into another mower or another lawn thing, and then that will make me money. And then with the money I get from what I invested, I'm going to use that to buy what I want. I'm going to wait. I'm going to delay what I want so that I can just create something that will get all the things I wanted. Would that be spending or investing? Investing, right? See, what we do with our time, much of the time, we spend our time rather than invest our time. I want to take a look at this because there's a little truth here that there are three things about time that we all know. Sometimes we feel guilty about it, but we all know it. We don't like to admit we know it, but we like to ignore that we know it, right? You ever do that? Like, you shouldn't have that third piece of cake, right? Or you shouldn't have that third helping of ice cream, but it was in a cup. But the cup was larger than the bowl, right? But it was a cup. You ever do? How many else do that? You do that. You put the ice cream in a cup so you can say I had a cup of ice cream instead of a bowl, right? Right? It's just that the cup is huge. Did I just give somebody an idea? Because we love to lie to ourselves. We love to deceive ourselves or make ourselves feel good about things that we do, right? Well, here are 3 things I want to show you. The first statement is this. There is a cumulative value to investing small amounts of time in certain activities over a long period of time. Now, I'm going to use a couple of examples of this to show you what I mean. This last week, on my day off, I had not exercised for 2 weeks, and so I was going to make up for it. Right? Now, so I went out. I woke up in the morning with my wife early, and we ran 3 miles. Now, my wife and I will do that throughout the summer. A number of times through the summer, we'll go and run 3 miles with each other and do that. And then I thought, well, then after I'm done with that, then I'm going to go mountain bike at Lebanon Hill. So I went mountain biking for an hour, went out and rode the trail, had a great run. It was a good workout. And then I came home, and the lawn needed to be mowed. So I went out and mowed the lawn and did that. And then when that was done, I thought, I haven't been to the gym to lift weights. And I know many of you are noticing that I was looking a little buffer this morning. The jacket was a little tighter than normal. And so I lifted weights, which I haven't done and so I got done with all of that, and I told Heather's like, well, this has just kind of been a workout day for you. And I said, yes, it's been a workout day. I'm going to get it. She says, James, you do understand that one day of lifting weights is not going to make you look good. And I said, well, I sure feel good. I mean, right? I'm making. She's like, you're such an idiot. And the reality is, how many know that's true? There's this sense that when we go to lift, it's not going one time, and then and the reality is the reason we don't make cumulative deposits, small deposits, is because of this. Look at this. Is because the next slide. That no immediate benefits to any installment of time. So last week we said if God's your number one rock, that you make God first in your life. Well, so you woke up in the morning, you got out your Bible and you read and you prayed, and you're like, you know what, I don't feel any more spiritual than I did the day before. Like, I don't feel like the Apostle Paul right now. You spent one day in the Word, and you're expecting to be casting out demons right now. I mean, listen, there's a building that occurs when you wake up Tuesday morning and then Wednesday morning, and it is a subtle motion that begins, a cumulative effect that begins to occur. And then all of a sudden, after months and then months and then months and then a year, all of a sudden you begin to notice people start coming up to you and saying, wow, you know what? I've been watching you. You really are a man of God. I've been watching your character. I've been watching the way you minister to people and pray for people. Man, you inspire me. Will you mentor me? And whereas before no one came to you about any spirit, now all of a sudden, because you made small deposits over a period of time, you begin to grow and you begin to change. It's like the same way with exercise. Is we exercise one day, we look in the mirror and go, man, I don't think I got any muscles. Well, you lifted one day. Right? How many know that's crazy? But that's why we don't do it because we want an immediate change. I start a diet on Monday and I'm done by Tuesday because I didn't lose a pound. I'm so disappointed. I had to eat like that all day, and I weighed the same thing. Right? I'm not doing that diet. It doesn't work. Because we didn't get an immediate benefit to the installment. Here's the other one. It's similar to what I just said to this, but here's another reason why we don't do it. No immediate consequence if you skip any installment. So if you are eating healthy and then you eat bad, you don't see the bad effect of that. And so the reason we struggle with it is because, I didn't do my devotion. I didn't read the Word today, and nothing bad happened to me, so maybe I don't need to read the Word of God today. Maybe I don't need to pray because nothing bad happened to me today, and things went okay today, so maybe I don't have to do it. And so we get caught into this weird way of thinking to try to not do certain things, like even saving money, right? When we save money, you put money in the bank, it's only like $5. You put it in the bank. Yeah, I got a savings account. Well, how much is in it? $5. Actually, $4.99. The bank took their 1 penny's fee. All right, and it's more like $2 fee. But you put it in there and it's only $5. But when you put $5 over a period of time, it begins to compound itself so that later you can retire. If you start at 22, you can retire on that when you're 65. Here's the second statement. Neglect is cumulative as well. Just like when you exercise over a period of time, you begin to see health benefits from putting those deposits in. In the same way, neglecting things we know we should do has a reverse effect on our life. No one has ever stated that neglect has been the key characteristic of their success story. You don't ever hear anyone say, yeah, my wife and I, we had some serious marriage problems and we talked and we decided we needed to neglect the relationship. Praise the Lord. 3 months later, our marriage is great. Neglect is something you're born with. No one had to mentor you. You don't go up to someone and say, can you mentor me in procrastination? No one has to mentor. That is just part of what's in that nature, part of the sinful nature, that when we got saved, it's the thing that God is adjusting and changing and working out of our life, that we don't neglect areas of our life that need time, that need an investment of time, and so that there is an improvement in those areas of our life. You see this, and I'm going to use it, and part of the reason I'm using a lot of examples today is I really want you to tie some of these areas in your own life. Maybe this is an area that the Holy Spirit is going to speak to you about. And I should tell you, I'm not going to preach in a sense this morning. I'm going to kind of just talk to you. Because there are areas of our life, all of our lives, where we need to invest time into. One of them is parenting. You know the story of, or you've heard the song, Cats in the Cradle and the Silver Spoon. And it's a story about how a father had a son, and he was always so busy that he couldn't spend time with his son. And as the son grew, his father was always busy on a business trip or with work or doing something that was always more important. And then the son graduated and he went away, and then the father said, I want to spend time with my son. And the son said, well, Dad, I'd love to spend time with you, but I'm too busy. See, a cumulative effect that when you neglect your kids, there is an effect that comes around. And then we stop, or your marriage, you neglect your marriage relationship. You don't go to a marriage retreat. You don't go to encounter. You don't go to anything to build into your marriage. And then you wonder why your marriage falls apart, because how you handle your marriage, not just on a weekly or monthly, but on a daily basis, how you talk to one another has an effect. Neglect in the relationship has an effect. And this is what we'll do. We'll go into the pastor's office and we'll say, hey, pastor, we got marriage problems. Can you fix us? And could you do it by tomorrow? Because I really don't like where we're at. Can I tell you? This is going to be tough for some. When you neglect your relationship for years, even God can't turn it around in a day. There is a reason God's giving you this word today, so you don't find yourself in that place tomorrow. God's word sets us free, but sometimes it takes days and months and investments of trusting the investments, trusting the process. And so whether it's your marriage relationship, you invest time into that over time. And some of the things you don't say that you shouldn't say and you wanted to say, but you don't say, you're making an investment. You're not neglecting. Telling her, I love you every day of your life and not just one time. Right? Investing in your kids, not just doing a Saturday on the weekend to spend time with your kids and then you neglect them 6 other days of the week. You cannot make up for that in one day, no more than you can lift enough weights on a Saturday to make up for not lifting them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. It's small investments over time that build. It's like I'm going to eat healthy on Monday, right? I'm going to start my diet Monday. And then you get to Monday night, I'm going to start Monday. Next Monday. Right? You made it one meal. And they brought donuts. All right? How many are with me this morning? So it's small. Neglect. When we neglect and we take our time and we invest in things and we neglect important areas, it's like going to church. We neglect going to church. We neglect so we don't go to church. We have kids. And I've always said this. I've raised my kids almost. They're about ready to go to college, the last two. And I tell you, one thing that I've noticed, and I've heard this, is my kids never had a choice. They always had to be wherever we were. When there was church, we were there. I've seen kids will prioritize the important areas of their life the way you prioritize them in yours. Church isn't important to you and won't be important to them. Don't be surprised when they don't go. If praying and reading the Word isn't important to you, it won't be important to them. Because they're watching you. If your marriage relationship, if you don't teach them, and I've told my girls, I want you to meet the parents of the person you're going to marry before you ever get close, because it will tell me how that person's going to treat you and handle their marriage relationship. And if they got a terrible marriage, I'm going to tell my girls, stay away. Because how many know marriage is hard enough the way it is, and it's difficult, right? That there are things you want to increase the odds. How many say amen to that, right? So neglecting, when we neglect, here's number 3. There is no cumulative value to the random things we opt for over the important things. So if you like to play video games, anyone in here, come on, be honest, you love to play video games. How many are thinking of doing it, but you're like, I don't want anyone to know. It's kind of like a secret thing for me. If you didn't raise your hand and you knew you were supposed to, you're the worst. Because you know it's out of line. It's like it's crazy, right? Here's the thing. You could start at 6 o'clock a.m. and go till 2 in the morning that night, 3 days later. And go, where did the time go? Right? But at the end of it, you're like, what did you gain? What did you gain? Did someone say points? Exactly my point. In the mouth of gamers. It's like golf. It's like golf. You know, I go out and play golf. It costs a lot of money. And you go on and it's supposed to be so that you get rest and it relaxes. Golf does not relax me. I get out there and one bad shot, I'm relaxed. So I'm relaxed and then I'm mad. And then I'm angry and I paid a lot of money to be upset at the world. And the worst part of it is you get addicted. And you don't remember anything after a few days. I mean, think of all of the activities in our life that we get involved with that really have no meaning on anything that's important to us. And so the random things we opt for over the important things, I haven't spent any time with my spouse or with my kids, but I'm going to go out with the guys and go golfing. It's because I need rest. Well, what's more important? Because all of that stuff equals 0 at the end. All of the investment in those things equals 0 when it comes to the end. And so when we get to the end of our life, one of the things we got to do is we got to look at, what do I want the end of my life to look like? Like when I get to that point in life, where we think, when I get to that stage of life, this is what I want, and then we focus everything on that. Well, if that's the case, look at what do I want my life to look like? Because that picture is painted today. And the decisions I make in determining what's important to me then needs to be important to me now. And I need to make small investments in that area of my life right now so that when I get to that place in my life, I know I worked my way there, because you just won't, boop, there you are. It doesn't just arrive. Now, I've heard this said, and this is a lie of the devil, and it's frustrating to hear it, because people use this victim mentality, and their victim mentality allows them to get to this place, is they sit there and they go, this person over here will make an investment in their marriage every day. This person over here on the weekends. This person over here will take money out of every check they tithe and they save, and they'll put it aside. This person over here, only when they get a little extra, and it's never really that much, or they didn't have something they wanted to buy. This person over here will spend time with his kids when they're not being annoying. And you know what? I've heard more parents become, just in sporting things, more annoyed with their kids than love their kids. It's a privilege to parent. It really is. But this parent over there, he invests in his kids, and this parent only when they're not being annoying. Then they come to the end of their life, and this parent's seeing the financial health. This parent over here who exercised, that parent only did it when they had to. This parent's seeing physical health. This person over here got all kinds of diseases and sicknesses. This marriage over here is doing really well. This marriage over here is so dysfunctional, you don't know what's going on. This marriage the kids over here are doing great things and are healthy and strong. These kids over here, they're getting in trouble all the time. Now let me ask you a question. When those two parents come up here, you'll hear this person in the victim mentality say, well, why isn't God doing for me what they did for them? What he's doing for them. Look what God's doing. I deserve for him to do for me what he's doing for them. And I would say that very statement identifies the attitude that caused you to make all of those decisions in the first place. It's what about me? And it's always been what about me? Where that person made sacrifices over time, intentional sacrifices over time, and now they're living in the blessing of those decisions, of those small decisions every day. This person is living in the undisciplined, lack of self-control decisions of their life, and they're suffering, and they're angry at those people because they're not experiencing what I'm experiencing. It doesn't just happen. God didn't favor that person over this person. God gave that person the same self-control and the fruit of the Spirit that he gave this person. But that person chose to ask the Lord to help him with self-control, and this person decided to do whatever he wanted to do, and he would just deal with what he had. Is this making sense at all? So let's look at the scripture. You're saying, man, we had 2 minutes to go and now you're getting to the Bible. This is important. Here's what it is. And be very careful then. Paul says this. Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise. Remember the first verse I talked about? Talked about wisdom and life and time. Paul ties it in here. He says, be very careful the way you live your life, the decisions you make. Don't just make flippant decisions. Think about the decisions you're making. How much time? It's saying, stop. I remember that child song in church growing up. Stop and let me tell you what the Lord has done for me. How many remember that song, right? And there's signs with it. They even had, go and tell the people, stop. There's a stop sign up. Stop living your life for one moment. Now stop and look at your life and ask yourself, are the things I want to be important in my life, are they important in my life? That's what Paul's saying. Use wisdom, next verse 16. Making the most of every opportunity. What opportunity? In the Greek also means, in the Greek, it means redeem. And what it's saying is redeem your time. It's saying your life, redeem your life, your time, and use it for what has value. Now, if money determined value, because you'll hear people say this all the time, I am worth more than that. If I were to ask you, how many are getting paid what you're worth? Some of you, but very few people would raise their hand and say, oh yeah, I'm getting paid. Everybody thinks they're worth, and they put a price tag on the value of their life. But let me tear that all down and rebuild it this way. If that were true, then there is a kicker on a football team in this state that missed field goals that's worth more than my life because he got paid more than me. So the value of his life is more than mine if we use money as the measurement of who's worth more. See, the value of your life is determined by what you use your life for. It's not money. It's what am I using my life for? Where am I investing my time? What you invest your time in determines the value of your life. Jesus said you're valuable because he died on a cross. He gave his life. He is the greatest of value, and he said that's how much you're worth. But the time you have, the value of your time is determined by how you use your time. You determine the value of your time, not a dollar bill, not a boss, not a corporation. You determine the value of your time. Next verse. Making the most of every time because the days are evil. And we know that the enemy is trying to steal the most valuable resource that we have. Do you know the enemy is out to kill, steal, and destroy? Right? So you know what he's going after? He's not going after your money. He's going after your time. He doesn't care about your money. He knows greed will take care of that. He's going after your time. He brings distractions. He gets you caught up in things that are not important. So why go to an encounter retreat? That's boring. Spending time with God, that would be boring. Why would you do that? We get caught up in things more. I understand why people don't want to come to church. Football is so much more interesting than church. There are hundreds of other things that are far more interesting than God. Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to pray in the morning? You need sleep. God even wants you to sleep. You're crabby when you don't get your sleep. You don't need to read your Bible this morning. That'll even make you more crabby. Right? I mean, we'll yell more at a football game than we will sing on a Sunday morning. Is this kind of like, wow, that is just like my husband? They need to be here to hear this message, but they're not, and you are. Here's the point. Small deposits of time over time is how you redeem your time. Small deposits of time over time is how you redeem your time. Small deposits, not large deposits, small deposits of time over time is how you redeem your time. Every day depositing small deposits. Here's the first question you ask. Where do you need to begin making consistent deposits in your life? I told you I was going to just talk with you this morning, and that's what I hope I've done. The Holy Spirit is actually the one I hope has been talking to you. And then in your mind, your mind's ear, you've heard the Holy Spirit say to you, this is an area where I want you to start making small deposits. Maybe it's a financial, maybe it's health, maybe it's exercising. Maybe it's eating better. Maybe it's your marriage. Maybe it's with your kids. Maybe it's treating the people you work with better. But you need to start investing times, and the Holy Spirit said this is something you need to start investing in. Maybe it's your finances. Second question is, what is your biggest obstacle? What's the biggest obstacle keeping you from making investments in that area of your life? Because here's the reality. The same Spirit that raised Christ's cold, beaten, dead, tore apart body on a cold stone in a grave, the same Spirit that raised that dead body to life. I don't know, do you believe it? It lives in you. And if you believe that, then you know I can live as a victor and overcomer because I know that power is in me to help me do what I couldn't do on my own. that I don't have self-control, but the fruit of the Spirit is self-control, and I need God to begin to activate that self-control in my life. I need him to do a miracle in my life, a breakthrough in that area of my life. Here's the third question. What are you willing to do about it? What are you willing to do about it? You willing to start? Ephesians 5:15-17 says this all together. It says this, but be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity, because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is. God has a will for your life. And the enemy is working overtime to distract you from his will, to destroy areas of your life where you fail to fulfill what he wants to do. What is that will? Those are the big rocks in your life. It starts, last week we talked about it, it starts with the biggest rock of all, your relationship with Jesus Christ. If you put it first, he'll help you with all the rest. Isn't that good to know? There's no pressure. You know, stress. Some of you are going through stress in your life. I mentioned this in the first service. Larry Stockstill mentioned this to me one time in a small group. He said, if you're feeling stress, it's because your will is not aligned with his will. Pressure is from God because it causes you to grow. Stress is created because you're in disobedience to his will. It is the fruit of being disobedient to his will. I think Jonah was under a little stress in the mouth of the whale. Right? If you're feeling stress right now, it's because you're trying to fight what God is trying to do through you. Will you bow your head?